What is your cooling system? Is it you said liquid?
It's liquid, yeah. That means it's from the radiation which goes through the motor, the power electronics, and through the battery.
Liquid, you mean like ethylene glycol water or something?
Yeah,
like
yes, absolutely.
That's
water.
Yeah,
just water.
Single loop for all three pieces of the pack and the motor, or separate loops?
Good question. As the temperature of the battery is on a lower level than the motor and the power electronics, we have for the cooling an extra chiller in the circuit, which cools down the temperature of the liquid below the outside temperature. This is an important feature to really enhance the efficiency.
One of the biggest challenges with electric vehicles is cost. You know, $850 a month for a Mini E you can rent, you can lease, the 7 Series if you equip it properly.
Yep.
So the question is, with all of this development that you're putting into this car, is cost part of your concerns, and are you confident that as you're improving the dynamics and the efficiency of the battery, you can also reduce the costs to a level that would actually make it appealing to consumers?
Yeah, sure.
Yeah.
So I can, of course, we're working on cost. You can trust me on that. So this is priority number one. So, but if you start with an innovation, it takes a while until really there's enough volume, and if we have more volume, the cost will for sure go down. So therefore, standardization is one thing, but the other thing is that also from the political side, there are good things going on, because the politicians, they really want to have electric vehicles or electromobility, or at least reduce the CO2 footprint as good as we can. And if we offer a vehicle without any emissions, then they are thinking already about some subsidies or tax cuts or things like this. The other point is the cost of ownership of an electric car is not so bad. So just think about the cost of the kilowatt hour is pretty low. The other thing is the maintenance is also not that high. It's out. The maintenance is also lower, because an electric engine is running for a couple of 100,000 miles without any maintenance, and these are the things we are really watching. The other point is we're using lots of brake energy recuperation to feed the energy back into the battery system. That also means you do not apply the brakes anymore. So this is also an outcome out of the Mini E test. So 80% of the brake applications you do with recuperation and not with the brakes. So that means you don't have to change the brake pads or the brake discs and all these kind of things. So there's more to come, and we are pretty confident that the more industries are moving in that direction, and the more politicians join the electric mobility, then we will also see, of course, a cost reduction. The thing what we do, of course, is focus on lightweight material. So this is what we are doing with the Mega City vehicle, because this vehicle, 1,800 kilo, is not very light. So it's not too heavy for an electric vehicle, but we think with a purpose design vehicle we can do better. And if you lower the weight of the vehicle, you have the opportunity to have less battery modules in the car. So that means also to reduce the costs. And these are the things what we are focusing on. So that there are always these three big things. This rolling resistance, this is key. This is what we know as a car manufacturer, aerodynamics and weight. So these are the first three things you have to fix, and then go into the powertrain. And also to improve the powertrain efficiency helps you extremely to reduce the amount of batteries. So that means not just all the focus on the battery cell, we should have the focus on the power electronics. The management of the battery, as I mentioned, is also key for that. And the other thing is the electric engine, because there it will also be more in the future towards even more efficient energy electric motors. The one we use here is a synchronous engine, and the one we had in the Mini E is an asynchronous engine. So it's more responsive, it's much lighter, it's not as heavy as the one we have there, and also the power electronics is that such a size. So these are things There's a long way still to go, of course, but...
Are you considering composite material for replacement of the traditional steel?
We usually consider everything within BMW organization. If you just watch some of those cars and for instance our M3 or our M6, so we have carbon fiber roof there where it makes sense because we use the roof to lower the center of gravity to give the M6 a better driving performance. So these are the things where it makes sense. We use the right material. We are not just going into a situation where we just say, okay, everything will be made out of steel or everything out of aluminum. We use the material that fits perfectly to the needs of the vehicle.
Can you talk a little bit about the changes in power electronics? You said you've gone from a box this big to a box this big.
I cannot give you more insight at the moment. The only thing what I can tell you, it is also liquid cooled, and it's much lighter and much smaller.
But you can't give any efficiency numbers?
No, not yet.
BMWs have always had a very melodious and distinctive engine note. What attention is being paid to the soundtrack of future BMW electric cars?
How should I answer that question? So there are always possibility to really have a sound, design a sound for the interior and also for the exterior if it is needed. But let me put it also the other way around. The feedback from the Mini owners, the top priority was that it is such a silent driving. So this was the first thing the customers were mentioning, and they all came from combustion engines, so don't get me wrong, and there were BMW drivers as well, but they appreciated that it is so smooth and silent. And what they also appreciated, this was priority 2, was the recuperation, because some people from the US market, they told us, when I lift my right foot from the accelerator pedal, I can feel that I pump money into my battery. And I never had that impression with a vehicle before. And so these are things that you can immediately get a response, and you know, okay, with that response I charge back some energy into my battery.
Maybe for the issue of cost, I would like to add one point I stressed before. As I said, developing a specific cell for automotive application and being ahead time-wise, also defining for other OEMs a kind of standard cell, gives us altogether the chance to jump into volume and to reduce the cost for the cells for everybody. So we feel kind of responsible in that sense to go ahead and to work up front on this issue.
And you said those were 40 to 60 amp hour cells?
Yeah.
I have a question about the concept of the distributed battery modules.
Yeah.
Was that concept, was that done to accommodate the fact that this vehicle is originally designed for an internal combustion engine, or do you think that that might be this idea of distributing the batteries throughout the vehicle will go forward?
It's clearly because of the existing car, that means of the conversion issue. Okay. So for purpose design, you absolutely will have a very simple layout for the battery at the right place in the car to lower the center of gravity, and as said, to have one single row of batteries. So remind the number 96 cells in a row with a sufficient capacity to power for a sufficient range.
When is the Mega City car expected to be completed?
What did we say the original was 500?
The only thing what I can tell you at the moment is that it will be in the first half of this decade. Not more precise. Sorry.
5,088.
5,000. That's not, you know, I wrote that. I said that's got to be wrong.
Small.
Well, here's what I wrote, and I said, gee, that must be wrong. Those are small cells.
Yeah, laptop cells. Laptop cells.
Oh, good. Would they
Can you maybe ask your question a little louder so that everybody...
Cobalt dioxide cells, standard laptop cells?
Yeah. They have an adjusted chemistry in it.
Yeah, we have an adjusted chemistry.
The capacity a little bit, but we gained a lot of safety. So all the separator...
And the separator is different as well.
but it worked out to be very reliable, the battery.
Yeah,
so
absolutely.
So
absolutely.
that's a very positive feedback we gained from the first 6 months of field trial, but it's very reliable.
What's the
gentlemen, just a second, maybe you.
Thank you.
Yeah.
With the future megacity vehicle 96 cell battery, can you give an approximate dimension to the individual cells, what they would roughly be?
It may be too early just to say now, because we are still in the development phase. So
thank you.
Don't get me wrong, but we are really in the development phase there. So therefore, if I give you now a precise geometry and then we end up with a different one, you would say, okay, what did he tell me?
Where are these lithium-ion laminar cells currently in terms of output per kilogram? Is this somewhere 100 or so?
Yeah, it's roughly around 120.
120, that's pretty good. Yeah.
So any
further questions?
Further?
How much demand do you have? I mean, you've put 600 minis out there, but are there thousands of customers that want these, or do you have an idea of that?
Actually, no. To really be fair, we don't know yet, because this is a test fleet, and we said, okay, we limit test fleet, and everybody knows that there are not more available. There are more companies and people asking for such a car, but you know, this is a prototype, and prototypes are usually very expensive. So therefore, we have a high leasing rate, as it was mentioned already, but people are willing to pay the leasing rate to really sit in or drive the future. So obviously there are a couple of people that do that, but this is not our target for the future. For the future we have to bring the costs down for sure. For sure.
And when will there be media vehicles available to drive?
Sorry?
Media vehicles. BMW E.
No, the BMW E will be next year. This we cannot tell you a precise month, but next year.
2011.
Yeah. 2011. Yes, 2011.
We'll let you know.